Lisa Carter pressed her face against the small window of the transport shuttle. The massive space station grew larger as they approached. Station Omega-7 looked like a giant metal city floating in the darkness of space. Bright lights dotted its surface like stars. She had dreamed of this moment for years, but now that it was here, her stomach felt tight with worry. The shuttle docked with a loud clang that made Lisa jump. Round her, other recruits gathered their gear. Most were aliens she had never seen before. A tall blue creature with 4 arms grabbed a weapon twice her size with ease. 2 reptile-like beings hissed at each other in their own language. Lisa felt very small and very human. The airlock opened with a sharp hiss. Lisa followed the group into the station. The corridors were huge, built for beings much larger than humans. The ceiling stretched high above her head. Everything was made of dark metal that gleamed under harsh white lights. The air smelled different here, like metal and something she could not name. Commander Zektar waited for them in the main hall. He stood 7 feet tall, covered in dark green scales. His yellow eyes moved over each recruit like he was judging their worth. When his gaze fell on Lisa, his mouth twisted into what might have been a smile, but not a kind one. "So," he said, his voice deep and rough, "Earth finally sent us someone." He looked Lisa up and down. "Though I wonder what use such a small creature could be." Heat rose in Lisa's cheeks, but she kept her face blank. She had heard worse during her training on Earth. The military advisors had warned her that most alien races saw humans as weak, too small, too slow, too fragile. But Earth needed this alliance, and someone had to prove that humans belonged here. "Report to Sergeant Velenix for processing," Commander Zektar said, already turning away. "Try not to break anything." The alien recruits made sounds that might have been laughter. Lisa picked up her single bag and followed the directions to the processing center. The corridors seemed to stretch forever. Other beings moved past her without a glance. She felt invisible. Sergeant Velenix had 4 arms and skin like gray stone. Each of his arms ended in 3 thick fingers. He looked at Lisa's papers with 2 arms while the other 2 sorted through equipment. "Human," he said, like the word tasted bad. "We were not told what to do with humans." He picked up a standard weapon and held it out to Lisa. "Can you even lift this?" Lisa took the plasma rifle. It was heavy, much heavier than the training weapon she had used on Earth. The grip was too big for her hands, and the weight made her arms shake. She managed to hold it for a few seconds before having to set it down. "As I thought," Sergeant Velenix said. "Perhaps you should work in the kitchens instead." "No, sir," Lisa said, keeping her voice steady. "I came here to be a soldier." The sergeant made a sound like air leaking from a pipe. "You will be assigned to Squad Deltanine. Follow the green line on the floor." Lisa knew what Squad Deltanine meant. Before she even got there, every military had units like this. The place where they put the recruits nobody wanted.
How?
The ones who did not fit anywhere else. The squad room was smaller than the others she had passed. Inside, she found 2 other humans and a handful of alien recruits who all looked as unhappy as she felt. Jake Martinez stood up when she entered. He was older than Lisa, maybe 30, with short dark hair and tired eyes. "Another human," he said. "Welcome to the reject squad. Speak for yourself," said Amy Robinson from across the room. She was thin, with red hair pulled back tight. Pale skin was covered in freckles. "Some of us chose to be here." "Sure we did," Jake said. "Just like I chose to wash out of 3 other military programs." A large creature with purple fur and too many teeth looked up from cleaning its weapon. "Humans talk too much," it growled. "That's Core," Jake told Lisa. "He got kicked out of his last unit for eating a fellow soldier." "I was hungry," Core said. Like this explained everything. Lisa found an empty bunk and set down her bag. The bed was too big for her, like everything else on the station. She would have to learn to live in a world built for giants. "First day is always the worst," Amy said. Sitting on the bunk next to Lisa's, "Commander Zektar likes to make sure everyone knows their place." "And what place is that?" Lisa asked. "At the bottom," Jake said. "Humans are new here. Nobody trusts us yet. They think we're too weak to be real soldiers." Lisa looked around the room at her new squad mates. They all had the same look in their eyes. The look of beings who had been told they were not good enough. She had seen that look in her own mirror back on Earth. "Maybe they're right," she said quietly. "Me," I said, "but maybe they're wrong too." The next morning brought their first training session. Lisa struggled with every exercise. The obstacle course was built for creatures with longer legs and stronger arms. The weapons were too heavy for her to use properly. The other recruits from better squads watched and whispered among themselves. During weapons training, Lisa could barely hit the target. Her shots went wide or fell short. Sergeant Valenik shook his head and made notes on his datapad. "Perhaps administrative work would suit you better," he suggested after Lisa missed the target for the 10th time. "Combat requires beings with more ... substance." But Lisa had not come this far to give up. That night, she stayed in the training room after everyone else left. She practiced lifting the weapon over and over until her arms burned. She studied the manual until her eyes hurt. She would not let them be right about humans being too weak. Jake found her there past midnight, still trying to adjust the weapons. "Settings, he said, sitting beside her. "Maybe the problem is not that we're too weak. Maybe the problem is that we're trying to be strong in the wrong way." Lisa looked at him with tired eyes. "What do you mean?" "These weapons, this training, it's all designed for beings twice our size. Maybe we need to find our own way to be soldiers." Lisa nodded slowly. Maybe Jake was right. Maybe being human meant finding strength in places others did not think to. Look, she would prove that humans belonged here, one way or another. 3 weeks passed on station, Omega 7. Lisa had learned to live with the daily struggles of being human in an alien world. The weapons were still too heavy, the corridors still too tall, and the other recruits still laughed at her during training. But she kept trying. Every morning she got up and faced another day of being told she was too small, too weak, too human. Jake had become her closest friend. Amy too, though she was harder to read. The 3 humans often ate together in the mess hall, sitting at a table meant for 6-armed creatures. They talked about Earth, about home, about why they had volunteered for this impossible mission. On this particular morning, Lisa was practicing weapon assembly when the alarms began. Red lights flashed throughout the station. Sound was sharp and angry, cutting through every other noise. All conversation stopped. Emergency alert came the voice over the communication system. "All personnel to battle stations. This is not a drill." Lisa had never heard a real emergency alarm before. During training, the practice alarms were different. Less urgent. This sound made her heart race. Sergeant Valenox burst into the training room. "All recruits to emergency shelters. Move now." The recruits rushed toward the doors, but Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. "What's happening?" "Nothing good," Jake said. "Come on." They joined the crowd moving through the corridors. Everyone was walking fast, some running. Lisa had to take 3 steps for every 2 of the larger beings around her. The emergency lights cast strange shadows on the walls. Amy caught up to them near the shelter entrance. "I heard 2 security guards talking," she said, breathing hard. "Something broke out of the research section." "Broke out?" Lisa asked. "From the labs? Where they keep the dangerous specimens?" Lisa felt cold. She knew about the research section. It was deep in the station below the main levels. Scientists there studied creatures from across the galaxy. Some of those creatures were very dangerous. They reached the emergency shelter. It was a large room with thick walls and heavy doors. Other recruits were already inside, along with civilian workers and off-duty personnel. Everyone looked scared. Lisa found a spot near the wall and sat down. The shelter was crowded and noisy. Children were crying. Adults spoke in hushed voices. The air felt thick and hard to breathe. "Attention all personnel," came a new voice over the speakers. It was Commander Zektar. "We have a containment breach in Research Section 7. Security teams are responding. All non-essential personnel will remain in shelters until further notice." "Containment breach," Jake said quietly. "That means something really bad got loose." 20 minutes passed, then an hour. People began to relax a little. Some started talking normally again. Lisa was beginning to think the danger was over when the screaming started. It came from somewhere above them. High-pitched, full of terror, then more voices joined in. People were running in the corridors outside the shelter. The heavy door burst open. Captain Ron Baker, the station's head of security, stumbled inside. His uniform was torn, and dark blood stained his shoulder. "It's in the civilian quarters," he gasped. "The thing got past our barriers. We lost 6 men trying to stop it." "What kind of creature are we dealing with?" asked Dr. Helen Wright, the station's chief medical officer. "Shadow Stalker," Baker said. "From Kepler 44 to be. 8 feet tall, armored. Hide claws that can cut through hull plating. It moves through the air vents like they were highways." Lisa had heard of shadow stalkers during her xenobiology classes on Earth. They were apex predators from a death world where everything was designed to kill. The fact that one was loose on the station was beyond bad. "How did it escape?" someone asked. "We don't know," Baker said. "It was in maximum security containment. The cage was built to hold 20 of them, but somehow it got out. The screaming outside got louder, and it stopped suddenly, which was somehow worse than the noise. We need to get to the lower shelters," Baker said. "This section is not safe." As they prepared to move, Lisa noticed something strange. She pulled out her data pad and called up the station schematics. The research section was on level 7, deep below. The civilian quarters were on level 3, but to get from one to the other, the creature would have to pass through multiple security checkpoints. "Amy," Lisa said quietly, "look at this." Amy studied the schematics. The creature took a very specific path. It could have gone several different ways, but it chose this route. "Why would it choose the hardest path?" Lisa asked. "Maybe it's not random," Amy said. "Maybe it's going somewhere specific." Jake overheard them. "You think it has a destination?" "I think it's hunting," Lisa said. "But not for food, for something else." Captain Baker was organizing the evacuation when his radio crackled. "Sir, we have another sighting. The creature is moving toward the lower research levels." "That doesn't make sense," Baker said. "There's nothing down there but more labs." But Lisa was already thinking about what might be in those labs. Up the research database on her datapad. Most of it was classified, but she could see basic information about current projects. "The breeding program," she said suddenly. "What?" Amy asked. "Look," Lisa showed them the screen. "Project Nightfall. They're studying shadow stalker reproduction. That means they have young ones." Jake understood immediately. It's not attacking randomly. It's looking for its babies. The pieces fell into place. The creature had not broken out to hunt or kill. It had broken out to rescue its offspring. Every attack, every death, was just something in the way of a parent trying to find its children. "We have to tell Captain Baker," Amy said. But Baker was already leading the evacuation. The shelter was emptying as people moved toward the supposedly safer lower levels. Lisa realized that they were heading directly toward where the creature wanted to go. "He won't listen to us," Jake said. "We're just recruits. And human recruits at that." Lisa looked at the schematics again. The creature was moving methodically through the station, getting closer to the lower research levels with each attack. It was smart, patient, and desperate. A dangerous combination. "Then we don't tell him," Lisa said. "We show him." "Show him." "What?" Amy asked. "That humans can be useful. That we can solve problems others can't." Lisa made a decision that would change everything. Instead of following the evacuation route, she turned toward the maintenance tunnels that led to the research sections. "Where are you going?" Jake called after her. "To find that creature," Lisa said. "Before it finds us?" Jake and Amy looked at each other. Then, despite every instinct telling them to run the other way, they followed Lisa into the dark tunnels beneath Station Omega-7, above them. The Shadow Stalker continued its methodical hunt, getting closer to its goal with each passing moment. The maintenance tunnels were dark and narrow. Lisa led the way with her flashlight, followed by Jake and Amy. The air was thick and smelled like oil and metal, though pipes ran along the walls, making soft humming sounds. Every few steps they heard distant sounds from the main corridors above them, shouting voices, running feet, and sometimes screaming. "This is crazy," Jake whispered. "We should be running away from the monster, not toward it." "It's not a monster," Lisa said, checking her data pad for the tunnel map. "It's a mother." A mother that can tear through steel with its claws, Amy added. They moved deeper into the lower levels of the station. Lisa had studied the building plans during her first week here. She knew that Research Section 7 was connected to other labs through these service tunnels. If her guess was right, the creature was using the same paths they were. After 20 minutes of crawling through tight spaces, they reached a junction that opened into a larger area. Lisa could see light coming from ahead. They were close to the research labs. Wait, Amy said, grabbing Lisa's arm. Do you hear that? They all stopped and listened. There was a sound like metal being torn apart. Then silence. Then the sound again, rhythmic and purposeful. It's close, Jake said, checking his weapon. Lisa moved forward carefully. Around the corner, she could see into one of the research labs through a broken window. The room was a mess. Its tables were overturned, equipment was scattered everywhere, and there were long scratches in the metal walls. But what caught her attention was not the damage. It was Dr. Helen Wright, crouched behind an overturned desk. The doctor was shaking, her face pale with fear. Lisa tapped on the window frame. Dr. Wright looked up, surprised to see anyone. Get away from here, the doctor whispered. Still, in the building somewhere, Lisa climbed through the broken window, followed by Jake and Amy. Dr. Wright stared at them like they had lost their minds. What are you doing here? She asked. This area is supposed to be evacuated. We think we know why the creature escaped, Lisa said. You need to see your research files. Research files? Are you insane? The thing nearly killed me 20 minutes ago. Please, Lisa said. We think it's looking for something specific, something in the lower labs. Dr. Wright looked at the three young humans. You're just recruits. What could you possibly know about xenobiological research? Maybe nothing, Amy said. But we might see something you missed. The doctor hesitated, then moved to a computer terminal that was still working. Fine. But if that creature comes back, we're all dead anyway. She brought up the files on Project Nightfall. Lisa read quickly, her heart beating faster with each line. The Shadow Stalker had been captured 6 months ago on its home world, but it had not been alone. If it's young, Lisa said, looking up from the screen. Had Dr. Wright corrected? The juveniles are in Lab Complex C, 3 levels down. They're perfectly safe in containment. Safe from us, Jake said. But what about safe from their mother? Lisa studied the building schematics again. Every attack the creature had made was moving it closer to Lab Complex C. It was not randomly destroying things. It was fighting its way through anything that stood between it and its children. The psychic emanations, Amy said, reading over Lisa's shoulder. Your reports say the creature emits psychic energy that causes fear in other species. That's right, Dr. Wright said. It's how they hunt. They paralyze their prey with terror. But what if it's not meant to cause fear? Lisa asked. What if? It's meant to communicate. Dr. Wright looked confused. Communicate. With its own kind, Lisa explained. The juveniles would understand those psychic signals. To them, it might sound like their mother calling for them. Jake was studying another part of the research data. Look at this. The juveniles have been showing signs of distress for the past 3 days. Refusing food, making noise, trying to break out of their containment. They can hear her, Amy said. She's been calling to them, and they've been trying to answer. Dr. Wright sat down heavily in a chair. We thought the adult was just being aggressive because of captivity. We didn't realize it was trying to reach its young. Every security barrier you put up, every weapon you used against it, just made it more desperate, Lisa said. It thinks you're trying to keep it from its children. The doctor's face went pale. The gas attack. Captain Baker is planning to flood the lower levels with toxic gas to kill the creature. Where its babies are, Jake said. We have to stop them, Lisa said. Stop them? Dr. Wright shook her head. You're talking about countermanding direct orders from the station commander. That's mutiny. That's saving lives, Amy said. How many people has this creature killed? 6 security personnel, Dr. Wright admitted. How many more will die if we don't end this the right way? Lisa asked. They heard footsteps in the corridor outside, heavy boots moving fast. Baker's voice carried through the walls. Set up the gas dispensers on level 5. We flood everything below that point in 10 minutes. Lisa made a decision. Dr. Wright, we need access to the juvenile containment area. That's impossible. It's behind. Multiple security doors? Then we need to get the creature there ourselves. You want to lead that monster directly to its young? Dr. Wright looked horrified. I want to reunite a family, Lisa said. Before your people kill them all? Jake checked his weapon again. Alice is either the bravest thing we've ever done, or the stupidest. Maybe both, Amy said. Dr. Wright looked at the three humans. They were young, inexperienced, and completely outmatched by what they were proposing to do. But they were also the only ones who had figured out what the creature really wanted. The juveniles are in containment block 7C, she said finally, but the security systems won't recognize your access codes. Then you're coming with us, Lisa said. I'm a scientist, not a soldier. You're the only one who can open those doors, Jake said. And you're the only one who knows how to safely handle the juveniles. Dr. Wright closed her eyes and took a deep breath. If we do this, and that creature kills us, I want it on record that this was your idea. If we don't do this, Lisa said, a lot more people are going to die, including 3 baby shadow stalkers who never did anything wrong except be born. The doctor looked at Lisa for a long moment. You're not like the other military personnel. We actually care about the creatures we study. I care about doing the right thing, Lisa said. Dr. Wright nodded slowly. Then we better hurry, Captain. Baker's gas attack starts in 8 minutes. They gathered what equipment they could carry and headed for the lower levels. Somewhere above them, an 8-foot-tall predator was fighting its way through security forces. Driven by the desperate need to protect its young, soon, Lisa would come face to face with one of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. But first, she had to find it. Lisa led the group through the emergency stairwell toward level 7. Dr. Wright followed close behind, clutching her access cards. Jake and Amy brought up the rear, their weapons ready, but set to the lowest power setting. They had agreed that shooting the creature would only make things worse. The stairwell was dark, except for the red emergency lights. Their footsteps echoed off the metal walls. Lisa could hear her own heartbeat in her ears. In 5 minutes, Captain Baker would start flooding the lower levels with poison gas. They had to reach the creature before then. Stop, Amy whispered. Suddenly, they all froze. Lisa listened carefully. There was a sound coming from below them, a soft scraping noise, like claws on metal. Then silence. Dare, Dr. Wright said, her voice shaking. Lisa looked down the stairwell. She could see movement in the shadows to levels below them.
Something large was climbing upward.
Everyone stay calm, Lisa said quietly. Remember, it's not trying to hurt us. It just wants to find its babies. Tell that to the 6 dead security guards, Jake muttered. The scraping sound got closer. Lisa could see the creature now, moving up the stairs with fluid grace despite its massive size. 8 feet of black armor plating and sharp claws. 6 glowing eyes that looked like burning coals in the darkness. The shadow stalker stopped when it saw them. It tilted its massive head, studying the 4 small beings above it. Lisa could feel something pressing against her mind. A wave of emotion that was not her own. Fear, sadness, desperation, the need to protect something precious. It's trying to communicate, Lisa said softly. Dr. Wright was pressed against the wall, shaking. That's impossible. The psychic emanations are just a hunting mechanism. But Lisa could feel the difference. This was not the cold touch of a predator. This was the desperate call of a parent. Lisa took a step down, toward the creature. Jake grabbed her arm. What are you doing? Showing it we understand, Lisa said. She pulled out her datapad and activated the holographic display. The station schematic appeared in the air between her and the shadow stalker. With slow, careful movements, Lisa pointed to their current location, then traced a path to Lab Complex C where the juveniles were kept. The creature watched intently. Its 6 eyes followed her finger as she showed the route to the containment area. When she finished, the shadow stalker made a low sound. That might have been a question. Lisa nodded and repeated the gesture, showing the path again. This time, she added images of the juvenile shadow stalkers from Dr. Wright's research files. The reaction was immediate. creature's psychic emanations changed, becoming stronger, but somehow warmer. Lisa felt a rush of recognition and hope. That was not her own. Prep a plow where I would all or I would or would so I will I wife will foul however so I was It kept its claws retracted and its head lowered. When it reached Lisa's level, it stopped just a few feet away. Up close, Lisa could see that the creature was beautiful in its own alien way. Its black carapace had patterns like flowing water. Its eyes held intelligence and emotion. This was not a mindless monster. This was a thinking, feeling being who loved its children. Lisa reached out slowly and touched the creature's armored head. For a moment, she experienced the world through alien senses. She felt the creature's confusion at waking up in a strange place, its terror at being separated from its young, its desperate need to protect them. "I understand," Lisa said. "I'll help you find them." The shadow stalker made a soft, rumbling sound. That might have been gratitude. Dr. Wright stared in shock. This is impossible. No one has ever communicated with a shadow stalker before. Maybe no one ever tried the right way, Lisa said. Jake's radio crackled. "All personnel gas release in 2 minutes. Clear the lower levels immediately." "We have." "To move now," Amy said. Lisa started down the stairs with the shadow stalker following beside her. The creature moved with careful grace, making sure not to accidentally harm its small human guide. Dr. Wright and Amy followed. Still hardly believing what they were seeing, they reached level 7 and moved toward Lab Complex C. The corridors. Here were damage from the creature's earlier attempts to break through. Scratches in the walls showed where it had tried to claw its way to its young. "The containment area is through here," Dr. Wright said, leading them to a heavy security door. She swiped her access card and entered her code. The door opened with a loud click. Inside, 3 juvenile shadow stalkers were in separate containment cells. They were smaller than their parent, only about 4 feet tall, but their basic shape was the same. When they saw the adult, they began making excited chirping sounds. The adult shadow stalker responded with its own vocalizations. The sound was like nothing Lisa had ever heard. Pure joy and relief. "The containment fields are still active, Doctor," Wright said. "I need to shut them down." She moved to the control panel and began entering commands. The energy barriers around the juvenile cells flickered and went dark. The reunion was immediate and overwhelming. The young shadow stalkers rushed to their parent, who gathered them close with gentle movements of its massive claws. The psychic emanations filled the room with emotions of love, relief, and family connection. Lisa felt tears in her eyes watching the family together again. This was why she had joined the military, not to fight wars or show human strength, but to make things better, to solve problems and help others. Captain Baker's voice came over the intercom. "Gas release commencing in 30 seconds. All personnel evacuate immediately." "We need to get them out of here," Jake said. Lisa looked at the shadow stalker family. "Can you get to the docking bay? There are escape pods there." The adult creature looked at her with its 6 glowing eyes. Lisa felt a wave of understanding pass between them. The shadow stalker knew what she was asking. "Go," Lisa said. "Take your children somewhere safe." The creature reached out with one massive claw and gently touched Lisa's face. The gesture was surprisingly tender. Then it gathered its young and moved toward the exit. Captain Baker's security team arrived just as the shadow stalkers were leaving. They raised their weapons, but Lisa stepped between them and the creatures. "Let them go," she said. "They're not a threat anymore. Stand aside, recruit," Captain Baker ordered. "That thing killed 6 of my men. That mother was trying to save her children," Lisa said, "just like you would do." The Shadow Stalker family moved past the security team and disappeared into the corridors, heading for the docking bay. Captain Baker looked at Lisa with a mixture of anger and amazement. "What the hell just happened here?" he asked. "Something new," Lisa said. "Something that's going to change everything." The Shadow Stalker family reached the docking bay without any more violence. Security cameras throughout the station showed them moving through the corridors like dark shadows. The adult creature was gentle with its young, guiding them carefully toward the escape pods. Lisa watched the feeds from Captain Baker's command center. She stood between 2 security guards who were supposed to arrest her for disobeying orders. But Captain Baker had not given that order yet. He seemed shocked by what he had witnessed. "How?" he asked, staring at the screens. "How did you make it listen to you?" "I didn't make it do anything," Lisa said. "I just helped it understand that we weren't enemies." On the screen, the Shadow Stalker family reached an empty cargo pod. The adult creature figured out the controls quickly. Within minutes, the pod launched from the station and disappeared into space. Commander Zektar arrived in the command center. 20 minutes later, his green scales were darker than usual, which Lisa had learned meant he was angry. He looked at the damage reports, the casualty lists, and the security footage of Lisa walking beside the dangerous predator. "Explain," he said in his deep voice. Captain Baker told the story from his perspective. How his security teams had failed to stop the creature, how 6 good soldiers had died, how 3 human recruits had somehow ended the crisis without firing a shot. Dr. Wright added her scientific analysis. The creature had not been hunting for food or sport. It had been a mother searching for children that had been taken from her. The attacks on security personnel had been defensive actions, not aggressive ones. The psychic emanations were distress. Calls, she explained, not weapons. We misunderstood everything about the creature's behavior. Commander Zektar listened to all of this without speaking. His yellow eyes moved from the reports to the video footage to Lisa herself. Finally, he asked the question that everyone was thinking. How did a human recruit succeed where trained soldiers failed? Lisa thought about her answer carefully. "I listened, sir. Instead of trying to fight it, I tried to understand what it wanted." He listened. The commander repeated slowly. "To a creature that kills with its mind. To a mother who was afraid. For her children," Lisa corrected. The room was quiet for a long moment. Lisa could feel everyone staring at her. Jake and Amy stood nearby, still covered in dust from the lower levels. Dr. Wright was checking her research equipment. Captain Baker was reading casualty reports. "The Galactic Defense Corps has dealt with Shadow Stalkers before," Commander Zektar said finally. "Every encounter has ended in violence. Many soldiers have died fighting them. But you found another way." "Yes, sir." "Why do you think that is?" Lisa considered the question. "Maybe because I'm human, sir. We're not the strongest or the fastest species. We're good at understanding others, even when they're very different from us." Commander Zektar walked to the large window that looked out into space. Somewhere out there, a Shadow Stalker family was traveling to safety because a young human had chosen compassion over conflict. "I have been wrong about your species," he said. "We all have." Word of what happened spread through the station quickly. By the next morning, everyone knew the story. The weak human recruit who had walked beside a deadly predator and lived at an alien monster that turned out to be a loving parent. The crisis that ended with understanding instead of violence. Lisa found herself called to meetings with officers she had never spoken to before. They asked her questions about human psychology, about communication methods, about ways to avoid conflicts with unknown species. Colonel Sarah Martinez, the station's deputy commander, was particularly interested. "What you did goes beyond military training," she said. "You showed natural diplomatic ability." "I just did what felt right," Lisa said. "That's exactly what we need," Colonel Martinez replied. "Officers who can think beyond standard procedures." 3 days later, Lisa was called to Commander Zektar's office. She expected another interview, more questions about the incident. Instead, she found herself facing a room full of senior officers and alien dignitaries. "Recruit Carter, Commander," Zektar began. "The Galactic Defense Corps has decided to restructure its approach to human integration." Lisa stood at attention, unsure what this meant. "Previous policy assigned humans to support roles because we believed you lacked the physical capabilities for combat operations," the commander continued. "Recent events have shown us that we were looking at the wrong capabilities." A tall, blue-skinned admiral stepped forward. "Humans will now be fast-tracked into diplomatic and first-contact operations. You have demonstrated abilities that our other species lack." Sir Lisa was confused. "The ability to communicate across species barriers," explained another officer. "To find peaceful solutions to dangerous situations. To understand the motivations of beings very different from yourselves." Lisa realized what they were saying. "You want humans to be negotiators? You want humans to be what you have always been?" Commander Zektar said. "Bridge builders? Beings who can find common ground between species that have nothing in common, except the need to coexist." Lisa was promoted to Special Operations that day. Jake and Amy were assigned to her new unit, along with other humans who had shown similar intuitive abilities. Squad Deltanine became the prototype for human-led diplomatic teams that would eventually serve throughout the galaxy. 6 months later, Lieutenant Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of a starship heading to the Outer Rim. Her mission was to make first contact with a species that had been shooting at Galactic Defense Corps ships for the past year. No one knew why they were hostile or what they wanted. It was exactly the kind of mission that would have been handled with weapons and force just a year ago. Now they were trying something different. They were sending a human to listen first, and fight only if necessary. Lisa looked out at the stars and thought about the Shadowstalker family. They were living safely on a nature-preserved world now, according to the last reports. The mother was teaching her young to hunt in their natural environment. They were free and together. That was worth more than any military victory was worth. More than proving human strength or showing alien species that Earth deserved respect. It was simply the right thing to do. The ship dropped out of hyperspace near the hostile species' homeworld. Lisa took a deep breath and prepared to do what humans did best. She prepared to understand.